Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to BRAP. It is Wednesday, March the 26th. Special BRAP tonight because I'm not uh going to be out of town Friday. So no BRAP this Friday. So that is why I'm doing BRAP tonight. And for those who remember, BRAP, we used to go live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So Game Logic and the rest of the crew will be joining me here shortly. And sorry, I'm actually a little bit late here. Wrapping up a quick workout. Had to get my workout in before the show. But I want to give a shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thanks everyone for stopping by and hanging out with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Do me a solid. I'm going to drop a link here in the chat. Please feel free to share the link on your favorite social media platform, whether it be X, Blue Sky, Facebook, TikTok, wherever you partake in social media. So Hero Down Under says a PC gamer is not the same archetype as a console gamer or the same as a mobile gamer. The impact will be minimal. So we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. You know, it never fails, really. Never fails that we have influencers, podcasters, blah, 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 blah. We have them just like Logic likes to call it, creating fan fiction, these narratives um, about things that are going to happen in the market. And I'm not so sure those things will happen in the market. And I think Hero Down Under pretty much summed it up very well in the fact that, the consumer, and this is the frustrating part about the conversation, is that the consumer is different in many ways. That it's in gaming in particular is as you may have heard Logic say this on numerous occasions, it's a stratified market, and I don't know why we have it. I've said this a million times. We seem to have these very binary conversations about the gaming industry or the gaming market, and I think a lot of it has to do with just one set of influencers wanting to prop up this business model of one particular brand over another. And I think it's ridiculous. I think, look, I like the diversity that we have in business models in gaming. I'm sure. Do I wish that there was a strong competitor to PlayStation? Absolutely, because competition is better. It pushes innovation. It keeps the force balanced, if you will. But I also at the same time like the fact that we have different companies doing different things, and I don't think necessarily that's a bad thing per se. And I don't know why people are always feeling the need to one up or show how one company's strategy is better than the other. And frankly, I think it's disingenuous. I think it's fueled by console wars and brand standing, and because we don't do that with Nintendo. You never hear Nintendo enter the conversation. So but we'll get to that here in just a little bit as well. So but I'm still playing Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm really enjoying it so far. I like I'm playing as Naue now, and you definitely I definitely like the stealth elements of Naue. It's interesting. And I think I saw this with Star Wars Outlaws too, when the main protagonist in that particular game was going into stealth mode. It's interesting because a lot of the mechanics, the movement, very, very similar to Splinter Cell. If you've ever played Splinter Cell, and the crouching, the hiding, there was a particular part in Assassin's Creed Shadows where I'm playing as Naue, and I'm, creeping, if you will, to trying to walk around undetected and in full on stealth. And there was I don't know if it was a lamp or something. There was something, or maybe it was a board. There was a beam or something. Maybe it was a support beam on the ceiling, but I could jump up and pull myself up and hold on to that beam. A very a la Sam Fisher, by the way. So I look. The point is, when I'm trying to drive here, is that I miss Sam Fisher. I can't wait to I just can't wait to I just can't wait to for them to Give a Splinter Cell, Ubisoft. Like, I think it's long past due. Um, anyhow, that's just my 2 cents. I know there's supposed to be a Splinter Cell remake in the works. Maybe it was not a remake, but a reboot. I think of the maybe not a reboot, but it's supposed to be a sequel of some sort. So, Russell, rest of the gang, they are running late. They should be here shortly. I did speak to Logic a little while ago. He'll be joining us here shortly as well. I don't think Slomo um, can make it tonight. Hold on a sec here. All right. I do want to give a big shout out to, let me pull this up here. Game Informer. Game Informer's back. This is actually really great news. It's kind of sad when Game Informer had announced that they were ceasing to exist, and they're back now. And I think that's really cool. I grew up during the day and age of print media, and I know times have changed. But I grew up reading EGM, Electronic Games Monthly, Game Pro, Nintendo Power. It was a Nintendo fan club before Nintendo Power. But yeah, Nintendo Power, those magazines, Wire. I mean, it just list goes on and on and on and on, right? And so it's really cool to see that Game Informer's back, and they did make that announcement here the other day. And Matt Miller, editor there at Game Informer, you can see there's a link here. And he says, Game Informer's back. The whole team has returned, and we can't wait to connect with you again. I was devastated last summer when Game Informer was shuttered by our prior parent company. So was the rest of the team. Now, not only did we really relish working together, we also thought we were doing something valuable and contributing to the conversation around the gaming hobby. The thing that caught us all by surprise was the reaction to that shutdown from our readers, viewers, and broader gaming industry. I received countless messages speaking about growing up with the magazine and the joy of paging through each month. For many, Game Informer was a getaway into gaming as a dedicated hobby. Yeah, I mean, Game Informer for me very much was. It's interesting. They had you see here in this graphic, they have Fallout 3. I remember having that issue, Fallout 3 Game Informer. I was a subscriber for many, 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 many years. He goes on to say, for some, Game Informer had become the spark that led to a career in gaming. After more than 30 years of publication, it felt like a genuine loss that reverberated beyond our close-knit team. It felt like something that shouldn't be abandoned without a fight. Over the months since, two remarkable things happened. The first is that Game Informer as a brand and outlet as an outlet was purchased and given a new lease on life. The second is that the entire team that was working together at Game Informer's closure has returned, from editorial to production and beyond. The entire team. Seriously, I'm still pinching myself. If you followed our work in the past, you know what that means. Our outlet has always been about more than just things we cover. It's just about the people. Our teammates are stewards of a legacy going back more than 30 years, including dozens of prior writers, editors, designers, and other creative voices that shaped the way we approach talking about the gaming hobby. With the brand and team reunited, we can move forward with confidence that we're maintaining the unbroken identity of who we are and what we represent. How did all this happen? After first touching base with our team and ensuring our interest, the team at Godzilla Games secured the rights to Game Informer. From the start, the new owners insisted of the idea of Game Informer remaining an independent editorial outlet. That I like. They felt just as strongly as our team did that the only path forward was with an editorial group that made 100% of the decisions around what we cover and how we do so, without any influence from them or anyone else. That is music to my ears. Game Informer now operates under an entity called Game Informer Inc., and our intent is to continue to focus on highlighting the coolest games, celebrating the history and legacy of the gaming industry, and shining a spotlight on the creators and players who are charting its future. I'm deeply grateful to the trust and enthusiasm from the team at Godzilla Games. They see the same potential in Game Informer as our team does. Their encouragement to do so ethically and free of outside pressure is laudable. I love that. I feel like the gaming media has become a little bit too. It's almost like they're trying to compete with the pundits at times, and that's kind of been a bit frustrating on my part because I just want to see them talk about video games, not give hot takes the way what we're seeing now. We see a lot of um, media types giving hot takes and just seeming like they're competing with with the influencers, the pundits, things like that for clicks and views. But yeah, this that's great that they're looking to do this ethically and free of outside pressure. As you can see, the website and its many years of back content are back. I invite you to look over any of the thousands of articles you'll find here from so many talented voices over the years and take some extra time to read some of our newest coverage. Even when we couldn't publish our thoughts, the team has remained plugged into games over these recent months, and we've given dozens of news reviews ready to go about some of the most impactful games that were released while we're gone. We even have our related sections for the best games of 2024, where you get to hear what you think we got right and wrong. Starting today, the site will once again see daily updates with news, reviews, previews, features, event coverage, and more. I hope you check out what we're up to. So I'm not going to read the rest of the article here, but this is from Matt Miller, editor-in-chief. Matt, we'd love to have you on BRAP, sir. Please come on, BRAP. Talk to us about the return of Game Informer. Would love to have you on and talk about that because I'm excited by this news. So go to some of the articles here. Just curious some of the reviews here. Here we go. They actually just published the review for Assassin's Creed Shadows 2 days ago. And you'll see some of the reviews for Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza and Hawaii review, the Kingdom Come Deliverance. That came out. So a bunch of this was it. Citizen Sleeper 2. Let's see this. Saw this on Game Pass the other day. Look kind of interesting. Oh, 9.5. And this game's actually in Game Pass, if I'm not mistaken. Has anyone played this game since Sleeper 2? I don't know if anyone has. If you have, raise your hands. All right, hold on just a sec here. Let me just BRAP is live. All right, how to retweet the link. Yeah, this one looks interesting. Citizen Sleeper 2. Like the visual aesthetic here. Let's go back to Assassin's Creed Shadows. What I want to know is if they Oh, is it? Here we go. Yes, the magazine is returning. Okay, so they're working on the magazine's first issue print copy. That's awesome. Mary Wilcox says I bought AC Shadows on launch day. It's a good game. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. Let's go back to this review though. I'm so excited to see Game Informer back. There's some of those assassinations, stealth assassinations by Noway are pretty visceral. All right. So Game Informer said, despite feeling little when the credits began to roll in shadows, I'm excited to get back to it. where its story leaves me wanting more. The gameplay picks up the slack and then some. It is the ultimate shinobi experience, and although there might be one better game out there when it comes to playing as a samurai, controlling Yusuke is still a bloody blast. Yusuke's OP, by the way. As a day one fan, every Assassin's Creed game has meant something to me. Ezio's trilogy is an all-consuming conspiracy through my favorite period of world history. Edward's Journey is the best pirate game out there. I don't disagree with that. Edward's Journey in Assassin's Creed Black Flag was awesome. Awesome. What an awesome. I still remember the pirate shanties and singing those because they were stuck in my head. You get on the boat. Who's played, by the way, show of hands, by the way, he's played Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Also, let me know in the laugh chat which is your favorite Assassin's Creed game. But Assassin's Creed Black Flag is my favorite. I mean, it was such a unique twist to. Hold on a sec here. It was such a unique twist to such a unique twist to the Assassin's Creed games. I thought it was awesome. Drunken Sailor. Yeah, Flag Curse Kane says Flag is my favorite too. Yeah, I mean the Ezio trilogy is iconic. I don't disagree, but I think Black Flag, Assassin's Creed 4 was just it was a departure, and it was a welcome departure in some ways because it introduced naval combat and the ability to upgrade your ships. And I mean, I gotta go back to the pirate shanties and listening to my crew. I remember, I forget what they would sing away. I don't know that I'm totally butchering that, but yeah, it was just awesome game. I remember you approach those fortresses in the ocean, the sea, or the Portuguese man of wars, and you'd have to build your ship up so you wouldn't get destroyed by the man of war. But yeah, it was just awesome. And I remember those fortresses. You would loot them. You'd have to like take out some of the defenses, and then you could like raid the fortresses and then get the loot and everything. And so, just an awesome game. One of my favorites. I actually do have. You guys have probably heard me talk about it on this show quite a bit. I do have a Todd McFarlane Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag poster. And it's framed. It's actually sitting to the left of me. It's just awesome artwork by Todd McFarlane. So, see a couple of Assassin's Creed 3s. Yeah, so looks like Assassin's Creed. It's a good game. It's right. It's right up there. With an 8.5 and 8. Still a good game. And this game seems to the critical reception has been pretty good for it. And I know that the Go Woke Go Broke crybabies are probably crying even more now because this game's getting pretty damn good reviews. See what Game Informer's talking about here. Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about this yesterday, or not yesterday, last Friday. All the belly aching over the the Keeleys. People always forget that there's other award shows out there. Oh yes, Mayor Wilcox. Here we go. I'm going to highlight. Yes, the anti-woke idiots are crying. They are crying. They're a bunch of basement dwellers at their parents' house, drinking Mountain Dew and eating Doritos. All right, yeah, but a lot of the, we always talk about the different award shows, right? There's a different there's GDC, there's Dice, there's the BAFTAs, there's the Golden Joysticks. The Keeleys aren't the only ones, and it's always interesting looking at the kind of comparing the winners of the different award shows every year. It's kind of interesting because you'll often see sometimes there's some a little bit of deviation from the award shows in terms of like who won best game of the year, things like that. So let me go to every winner at the 2025 GDC Awards. Article by Charles Hart, Game Informer. I'm going to highlight Game Informer today because I'm just, again, excited that they're back. But the GDC Awards are held March 19th, so about a week ago. And according to the article by Charles Hart, the GDC Awards were dominated by Balatro. Is it Balatro or Balatro? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Oh yeah, Aaron Walsh. That was a great tweet, by the way. I did see that. Oh, did he? Did that idiot get burned by the Ubisoft count? Good. So I've heard good things about Balatro. I haven't played it. So so it looks like the GDC Awards were dominated by Balatro, which won 4 awards. It was nominated for. Other winners include Astrobot for technology and audio, Metaphor Rio Fantasia, which won best narrative. That can't argue, can't complain with that one because Metaphor is one of my favorite games of last year. And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which took home the audience award. But let me go through the winners here. Game of the year. Here the nominees were Astrobot, Balatro, which won, Black Myth Wukong, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Helldivers 2, and Metaphor Re Fantasio. Okay, not too different in terms, say not too different, but the nominees aren't that different from some of the other award shows that we've seen. Many of these games were, I guess my point is, many of these games were Game of the Year contenders in some of the other award shows. All right, want to welcome Game Logic. Logic, what's going on, man?
People are mad. People are mad, BRAP.
Why are people mad? What's going on? Why are people mad?
Because they insist that Sony can block the hybrid Xbox from playing PlayStation games.
which we'll talk about in a little bit. I've also learned too that when Totoki sees all that money that Xbox is making by putting their games on other platforms, that they're going to follow suit. By the way,
yes. Oh, people are also mad that that Disney streamed a 5.5 hour stream today to announce the cast of Avengers: Doomsday.
Why are people upset about that?
I don't know.
It's interesting. I'm starting to realize my age here. And I say that, Hamp, because I think we are living in at least in the social media space where stupidity is rewarded. You know what I mean? Like people say stupid shit just to gaslight people, and it works. Anyhow,
yeah, they're mad that they're mad that Sam Wilson continues to be Captain America.
I mean, jeez. I guess we're getting Gambit back, right? I guess we're going to see a Gambit. Is that?
Yeah, you're not going to see me cheerleading for that. You guys can have that.
You're not. You didn't like Channing. I forget his name.
As Channing Tatum.
Yeah,
I actually haven't seen. Was that the third Deadpool movie? I actually haven't seen it.
That was the Deadpool movie with Deadpool Wolverine. Yeah, it was that was a pretty good movie. I liked it.
I heard it was supposed to be good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But I've never really been I don't know. I have this love-hate relationship with Hugh Jackson as Wolverine, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. We should get a proper Angel.
Yes, that's a travesty that I think needs to be corrected.
Yeah. Who, if I remember correctly, eventually becomes Death, right?
He becomes. I mean, as he he becomes one of the four horsemen of apocalypse. But the way they did it in the X-Men movie, that, as far as I know, I don't think that's the same. I think they broke continuity on that one.
Yeah, I don't remember how they did in the movies. If I remember correctly, in the comic books, he lost his wings. Apocalypse approaches him, gives him his wings back, but yeah, Archangel, Death, yeah. So, oh man, I tell you, that Four Horsemen, woo, that was a great one. Logic, not the movies, not the movie. I'm talking about the comic books.
Oh yeah, the comic books were great. Yep.
Oh yeah, the Four Horsemen, Fall of the Mutants. Whoa, man, Death. Oh, loved it. I was like, and I was probably like 10 years old when that came out. By the way, I was a youngster, but I remember. I mean, I still may have those comics actually. So Hap, I don't know if you're aware, Game Informer's back. That's I'm excited about that. I think it's great.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I don't have the same relationship with Game Informer that I had with GamePro, where I literally bought like the first issue of GamePro off the magazine rack in the grocery store. I just happened to walk in a day and the magazine was there, and then I had no idea that GamePro would have gone on to become the thing that it was. But I had been reading Game Informer for a very long time, both in print format and digital. It always felt like, in particular in this age of the web, where so-called journalists have become just your typical common influencer. They were kind of one of the last bastions of in my opinion, good gaming journalism. Along with GameIndustry.biz. So it's great. It's great to see them back.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the how gaming media has really kind of become more like like the YouTube influencers, the pundits, right?
It's like Spike TV.
Yeah, it's like Spike TV, exactly. One of the things, and I read the letter from the editor at Game Informer, I forget his name now, when he talks about we're back, and one of the things he mentioned, which I loved, was like, yeah, like we're going to do this thing where we're going to cover games, and we're not under any kind of like influence, right? Or obligation to cover things a certain way. Like we're going to cover things the way we want to cover things, right? I'm totally paraphrasing what he said, but that was kind of the gist of it. And I thought it was great because I think, to your point, like Game Informer was one of the last bastions of great gaming journalism. And so I was disappointed when they announced that they were shutting down. I was kind of like, oh, that sucks, Yeah. I'm trying to find the article of.
Yeah, I can't remember because my memory of Game Informer literally goes all the way back to when it started. I can't remember if it's Andrew Reiner or Kyle Hilliard who's the editor in chief now. Or it might be.
It's not Kyle Hilliard. It's
or it might be Mark. Can't remember. Is it Mark Miller?
It's Mark Miller.
Okay.
Hold on. Why can't I find this article now? We're back. There we go. I don't see it now. Hold on. I just had the damn article up.
Yeah, Matt Miller. Matt
Miller, yeah. Yep, here we go. So here's what he said. I told Matt, I was like, not that he's listening. Maybe he is, who knows? So look, man, you gotta come on the show, Matt. We got to talk about Game Informer. But here's what he said. He said, and this was really, when I read this part here, I was like, oh, this is great. He said, I'm deeply grateful for the trust and enthusiasm from the team at Gunzilla Games. They see the same potential in Game Informer as our team does, and their encouragement to do so ethically and free of outside pressure is laudable. Like that was like, I'm like, yes, that's what I want to see more of. But yeah, Hap, I don't disagree with you. It's great. It's great to see him back. It's funny you mentioned GamePro because GamePro was one of those magazines I grew up reading. They used to do Game Informer used to do the reviews with like 3 different people review the game, right?
Wait, Game Informer or GamePro?
GamePro.
Yeah, I think so. There was one other
kind of like Famoso.
that did that. Yeah, but Famitsu actually aggregates the score, right?
Yeah, they take all like 3 or 4 reviews and aggregate them together. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think most of these other ones they just they were just, I want to say maybe GamePro's thing was called like the second opinion. It was like another editor like had a mini review or something. I can't remember exactly, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so we didn't get to talk about this last Friday, Hamp, but the GDC Game Awards, I was just talking about that right now. Balatro won like 4 awards. They won best game. Oops, hold on, here we go. They won Game of the Year at GDC. Best audio went to Astrobot. And I mentioned this earlier too, and I pulled up the article. A lot of the nominees are, there's some consistencies here in terms of the nominees across the different award shows. Like if you look at like Game of the Year, you see Black Myth, Final Fantasy, Helldivers 2, Metaphor ReFantazio, Astrobot. Let's see. Let's go down to best debut. Is it Balatro or Balatro? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I've heard both used, but the one I've heard most typically is Balatro.
Balatro sounds right. I'm gonna go with Balatro. Best design, Balatro. See Black Myth Wukong in there.
Ghostface Killer in the chat, by the way, says it was EGM that did 3 scores.
Oh, EGM. Okay. All right. I thought GamePro did too. Best design, Balatro. Again, Astrobot was there. Animal, Black Myth Wukong. Best narrative, Metaphor ReFantazio. Best technology, Astrobot. See Black Myth, Helldivers, Senua Saga, Hellblade 2 was there. Tiny Glade. Best visual art, Animal Well, Astrobot. Winner was Black Myth Wukong. Beautiful game. Metaphor ReFantazio. Innovation Award, Balatro. Social Impact Award, Life is Strange. Audience Award, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And Sam Lake got a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, any thoughts on GDC?
No, not really.
All right. So what else did Marvel announce today? What do we get for announcements today, Hamp? I didn't want to talk about that.
It was just the entire. Well, we did Phil Spencer win an award.
Did what? Did who?
Phil Spencer win an award. It was the man. I don't think we could even say what percentage of casting it was. I think we were led to believe that the entirety of the cast was being announced today, but then I think I can't remember what this account is called, but the main account that was doing the tweeting out then came back and said there will continue to be announcements. So who was announced today is not everyone that's going to be in Doomsday.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I don't particularly care for it. And look,
yeah, I don't either.
I walk a very fine line of being a comic book purist. I think I'm more of a method purist than I don't feel like that the movies have to hone to write the most extreme interpretation of the canon. Like I'm okay if there are exceptions. I personally think one of the reasons The Walking Dead was great was because they largely followed storylines from the comics, but they didn't always stick those storylines on the same character, right? So like Carol's storyline is not what it is in the comics, right? but the reason she breaks out on the show as one of the most popular characters is just because that they gave that actress that storyline and put that storyline on that character. So I'm fine to a certain extent with the way they do these things. But I think from a methodology perspective, I'm kind of like, well, what I definitely don't like is I don't like when the Speed Force or the multiverse just becomes the MacGuffin to explain everything, right? Anytime there's a surprise, it's, oh, he was from the other Earth, or, oh, this was the blah, blah, blah from Earth, 395, or, oh, we're actually like, it just becomes a trope at some point. And so I kind of feel like this is headed down the path, and like bringing RDJ back as Doomsday is like firmly right there. And what we've come to learn, right, is that these movies really live and die on getting a great performance from a well-scripted villain. And I just think that, and this is probably the comic book purist of me, despite the conventional wisdom, I've never been like an Iron Man stan, and I've never been a Robert Downey Jr. stan. Captain America is the leader of the Avengers. Now, the fact that you like Robert Downey Jr. more than Chris Evans, that's a you problem. Right? I feel like because of Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man figured very prominently in the Avenger sagas, but like it was a shoulder shrug to me, and I personally didn't need to see that actor come back, not as Doctor Doom. I feel like that it kind of, I mean, I feel like the whole epic kind of lost an opportunity to potentially cast someone else great who would have brought a different thing to that performance, and that and I'm certain that the villain is being scripted around Robert Downey Jr., right? That role is now written for him instead of the opportunity that it could have been, right, to really do a good job of writing a Doctor Doom, because no Marvel movie has ever written a good Doctor Doom. BRAP, are you still there?
Oh yeah, I was talking. I was on mute. I was saying that for me, Robert Downey Jr., his casting as Doctor Doom was more of, let's put butts in the seats. He was popular as Tony Stark. He's associated with the big actor, big figure in the MCU, and that's how I kind of looked at his casting. But I haven't really. I mean, have you thought about like who else you might want to see play this role? I mean, I haven't gone that far, but is there anyone you think that might have been maybe better cast as Doctor Doom?
So if I cheat, that answer is super easy, right? Meaning that I ignore all the rules of Hollywood about age and physical appearance. I think Gary Oldman would make an incredible Doctor Doom.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Gary Oldman's always been a good bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also was a great Gordon in the Batman movies, but yeah, go ahead.
Right. There's a bit of a cheat because this actually just came across my timeline. I wonder if the guy who plays, now I'm dropping the name because I haven't kept up with the boys.
Are you talking about
Homelander? I wonder if the guy who plays Homelander could pull off a Doctor Doom.
I think so. I mean, he's a great villain, and he's a great villain in The Boys. He really is. And I think he could probably play Doctor Doom. Who played what's up, Lucci Sky? So who played Doctor Doom in the Fantastic Four movies, the first ones?
Well, the Ian Grufford, Chris Evans, Jessica Alba one was was his name Julian McMahon? Okay. The guy from was he from 6 Feet Under?
I'll say Hamp. I don't remember, man. That's a great poll if you remember that. I don't remember.
Yeah. It was Julian McMahon. I can't remember where Julian McMahon got his big breakout.
Yeah. So we're gonna get other actors confirmed: Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen coming back as oh my god, Magneto. Why am I drawing a blank here? Patrick Stewart as, we all know, Professor X. Charles Xavier. There's a 5.5 hour live stream. Oh my gosh. I don't understand why people are upset about it. Who cares? You don't have to watch the whole thing. I like that Tom Hiddleston's gonna be there as Loki.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, all of these things obviously evoke, because I mean, some of these characters have died at various points, and so the whole question now becomes like, well, what version of their character, is going to be in Avengers Doomsday, and like what, from what timeline. I don't know exactly how they're doing this, but I want to say, and this I mean, my recollection of this timeline is very muddled and probably inaccurate, but I mean, my belief in this event in the comics was that essentially, after the final or near final incursion, that like Doom recreated the world. I mean, so this story branch went down the line of Doom being seen as God on the planet. So it's like for a whole year we ran around talking about like in Doom we trust, thank Doom. So there are all these lines in the comics. I think this was a Jonathan Hickman comic. There were all types of lines, where you basically, where in our reality, like we these are terms, where we use the word God, but it was replaced in the comic like with Doom. So yeah, so I mean, I have no idea, how, and I haven't kept up with the whole multiverse saga, so I think incursions were starting at the end of whatever, the Doctor Strange movie in the Multiverse of Madness or whatever. The woman who shows up at the end seems to make some reference that like an incursion is happening, and she and Doom like jump through the portal to address it. But I haven't kept up with the multiverse saga to see if like incursions have become a thing. The way they're going about doing it just kind of muddles the way the comic approach was, because with the comic approach, you had this whole saga between the Avengers and the New Avengers about the Illuminati and incursions, and then Doom Battleworld Secret Wars followed that. But I don't think that they've done the whole Illuminati incursions thing, because they didn't have all those characters available in the MCU. So it seems like they're shortcutting right to get to that. So that just leaves me kind of unclear on kind of where they're headed.
Yeah,
pulling all these characters together.
Yeah. I also forgot the Thunderbolts is coming out this May.
Yeah, that's what I saw somebody post, that because Thunderbolts is kind of, sort of, maybe-ish like in the spectrum of a Suicide equivalent for Marvel. Not quite, but it's
I mean, it's close. Like,
it's in the ballpark. That.
I mean, that anti-hero,
Yeah, but there are some hyper specific literary designs around the Suicide Squad. Like they are called the Suicide Squad because like characters get sent there to die.
I mean, that opening scene at the beach with Suicide Squad.
I mean, DC actually kills. So when characters are in a Suicide comic, there's a big comic book thing about like being pissed off if too many of like important characters are in it. So this happened while Arrow was going on, and I guess the movies, like the comic got stuffed with a bunch of characters that you knew they weren't going to kill off, right? So you're kind of like, okay, well, now at this point we've defeated the literary purpose of the Suicide Squad. So anyway, Thunderbolts isn't quite the same, but people liken it to that. But Yeah, I saw somebody complaining today that they did this reveal of a bunch of the Thunderbolts characters being in Avengers Doomsday before Thunderbolts comes out, and so now you know that all those characters survived the movie, right? So it's kind of a little spoiled, or it takes table stakes off or whatever.
I mean, I would have expected that they would have survived. I mean, I see that point though. It's like, okay, well now you kind of, I could see, yeah. I do like David Harbour's Red Guardian though.
Oh yeah, I love him.
yeah, I think it's great.
I think
seeing him in Stranger Things and now in this is great. Yeah,
right. I think the super big question that popped for me today was, Sebastian Stan is back as Bucky, not as Winter Soldier. So I'm wondering what that means.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Now, Hamp, are you going to go out to the movies and see Thunderbolts?
Probably not. I'll probably just wait till it comes to streaming and see it.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, how old is Ian McKellen now? Like, can he really play? Can he really play Magneto at this point? Like,
well, look, we brought Harrison Ford in today. We got him running around as the Hulk.
This is true. You're not wrong. I mean, we did bring Harrison Ford. He's like 80 years old, I think,
and that's what kind of concerns me, right?
And Kelsey Grammer back as Beast, which I like Kelsey Grammer as Beast,
but he's up there too. I mean, my problem, my worry is from the casting. It seems like they're bringing a lot of these characters in for kind of pointless cameos, or for them to show up and be like talking heads, or to show up and get like promptly killed off, right? Like it doesn't feel like they're bringing them in to be persistent members of the MCU, and maybe Peace Stew and Ian show up to do a short stint so that they can get what's that? Yeah, so they can get killed off or wiped out of existence, so they can be replaced by McAvoy and Fassbender.
So that's interesting that you bring that up, because I think if you are like us who remember watching the X-Men movies 20-something years ago when Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, were in those roles and debuted as those characters, do you feel like that for maybe some of the audience may have a little bit more of impact when they get killed off, because it's like, oh my gosh, like, like maybe that nostalgia of, I mean, I remember watching those characters 20 years ago. Those actors played those characters, or those in the first X-Men movies. Do you think that's part of it?
I mean, could be. I don't. So for me personally, I don't have that emotional attachment to those characters in the way that I was emotionally attached to people in Infinity War, right? Where people started getting blipped, and even though I knew what was going on, I get it. I was like, look, these motherfuckers are gonna have to come back for Endgame. Like, so what are we doing here, right? But by the same token, as that was going down, I was like, bruh, we've been watching these people for like 10 years. Like I don't know if I would say that, we have emotional attachment, but we have feelings associated with the movies that they were in, right? And now we're seeing them get dusted,
Yeah, maybe that emotional attachment, right? But feelings like, holy shit, like we saw them and now they're dead, right?
Yeah, but I feel like we like between not Age. What was before Age of Apocalypse?
I don't remember, man.
The whole time traveling one.
I don't remember. Like X-Men First Class.
It was the one between First Class and Apocalypse.
Oh, I don't remember. Apocalypse was such a disappointment.
I know somebody in the chat's gonna get it.
Yeah,
I'm mad because this is one of my favorite X-Men movies. Because I was actually Days of Future Past. Thank you, Mary Wilcox. Yeah, because I was actually not a huge fan of First Class. But Days of Future Past, I was so mad because I was like, you guys literally fixed everything. Everything that you have dorked up in 3 X-Men movies, plus all the Wolverine stuff, you guys literally fixed in Days of Future Past. And then you effed it all up again, turn right around and effed it up all again with Age of Apocalypse. I'm like, we're doing things in Age of Apocalypse, and I'm like, didn't we solve this problem with Days of Future Past? Like, why are we doing this again?
That's a great point. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Kelsey Grammer is back as Beast. Members of the Fantastic Four. Pedro Pascal, by the way, is what is he not in these days?
Yeah. So my feeling is that because it's going to be interesting. I love Sam Wilson. I love the story arc of him becoming Captain America. I don't feel like I'm going to say that he can that he's the one to lead the Avengers. But my other thing with this movie is it's called Avengers Doomsday, but like I couldn't pick 6 characters out of that lineup that tell me that, okay, that's the Avengers. And as far as I can tell, I mean, help me out, because like I said, I haven't been keeping up with this. I don't think we've had an Avengers movie this phase.
We have not.
So who are the Avengers?
We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe out of this we get whoever's going to be the Avengers in the next saga, right? By the second movie, I don't. I don't know.
So Doomsday is coming out May of next year, and then we have Avengers: Secret Wars, which is coming out May 7th, 2027.
Ooh, man, it's a long haul.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, look at that tires, Hamp.
Yeah, so it's just weird. My point was when you brought up Pedro Pascal. So I feel like, based on the way I've seen things go in the comics, is that the leader out of this whole thing is going to be Reed Richards.
That's what I was going to say. That he's probably the more likely to lead this version of the Avengers.
Well, I was going to say the Avengers, but whatever this mega team up, right? It is right. I feel like the leader of this whole thing is going to be Reed. I don't know. I don't think that's a formally designated position or whatever. I just think that's the way it's going to be scripted.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Pedro Pascal in that lead role. I don't know. Who knows? I have to wait and see. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer and be like, oh, it's trash. People get. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And where did the Sentry show up?
I don't know.
Yeah, he's not being introduced in Doomsday. He's shown up somewhere. He must have shown up somewhere in something that I didn't watch. Maybe he was was he in the Hawkeye? I watched the Hawkeye show, but I don't remember that character being introduced there specifically.
I just wanted the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sentry will be in Thunderbolts. Okay.
Mary's she's got all this. We got to get Mary on the show. It sounds like.
She's got the walking book of knowledge. She's filling in all my blind spots.
I know, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't disagree with Kay the Barbarian. Reed has been Avengers before, led the Avengers before. Considering it's about Doom, he's definitely gonna be like, there's that Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom connection.
Yeah, yes, I definitely agree with the Doom thing. Whether or not he really gets propped up with the label of like leading the Avengers at this one, I feel like, when does the Fantastic Four movie come out? Is that this summer?
I think it's this summer, yeah.
So I just don't feel like it's been earned. Right, and this is kind of the problem with these movies, right? They take such a long wind up. Like Reed Richards leading the Avengers was because he leader of the first family, right? So it's a big deal, right, for him in the comics when he became leader of the Avengers. I feel like being introduced so late in the game, I feel like not so much here. And that's another thing right here when we talk about timelines. Remember, the Fantastic Four movie is going to be in the 1960s or whatever. It's going to be true to the timeline of the comics, like when they were first introduced. And so somehow there's going to be some multiverse time warp, right, time jump to get them on the same page with everyone else. Which again, if Doom is remaking the world in his own image, then those timelines, for that moment in time, right, become irrelevant.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Like, when does Pedro Pascal have time to film The Last of Us, do these movies?
Well, the
You know,
Last of Us season 2 is done filming, right?
is it done? Okay.
Yeah, didn't they just have the premiere out in Hollywood where they had a screening of it?
Did they really? I don't know. Did they?
I thought so. I
Last
thought
of
that's
Us-
where the pictures of Bella Ramsey
uh,
and Isabella Merced came from, was when they went to the screening. So here's my thing.
Okay.
I know. Leave it alone.
What's that?
Anyway, um, so here's what I want, and this is a super like me kind of like total comic book TV nerd thing. I want to see cast members from The Gifted. I want to see their names on the back of the chair, showing that they're going to be in Doomsday.
April 13th, Hamp. April 13th.
Is that The Last of Us Part 2?
Yeah. I can't wait. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I don't.
You know, it's interesting. You know, with the casting of The Last of Us on HBO, I remember how up in arms people were about it, and it turned out to be a really good show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, have you watched the entire first season of Last of Us?
No, I haven't watched any of it.
Okay. It's actually it's really good. It is really good. They expanded on some of the lore stories of some characters that you were introduced to in the game, but it is it's done very well. Like I got to give him kudos for that. I was a little concerned about the adaptation, as I typically am, of video games to TV or movies, but this was done really well.
Yeah, I mean, I heard it was good.
Yeah, we're getting another Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. How many more dinosaur movies can we have?
Yeah, that one's gone off for the rails for me.
I'm kind of over it. Like how many more like mutant dinosaurs can that guy create? You know?
Yeah. Now I'm looking at the cast of The Gifted, and I'm like, oh, this is such an opportunity to get Polaris and Blink, and I can't remember if he's Warbird or Thunderbird. He was the younger brother, and
I don't know what was
and Timu Sunspot, I think would be awesome.
When did the Gifted Kid? When was that?
I was just looking at it.
I don't think I don't remember what that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was nuts. 2017 through 2019.
Yeah, I got to go back and watch that if it's available still. Because you're right, that incorporating The Gifted would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, it's with them bringing Magneto back, I feel like it's a really good time to put Polaris in there as his daughter.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then her watching her father die.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Jason, it's a different time though.
Yeah, I'm not sure what JC's saying. My whole thing is, you know, and again, there's elements of this that I don't like. Is if the world is if Doom is recreating the world, then timelines don't matter. Which and clearly they must not, because the Fantastic Four are in the movie.
Yeah. And then maybe part of that is why you have Xavier and Ian McKellen and what's his face, you know.
Well, my suspicion of where they're going with this is they're gonna. So we've introduced the notion of the multiverse. In the incursions, basically all of the other Earths are destroyed. And then you reconstitute everybody. I mean, this is kind of the sad thing. Is this whole menagerie is all just to basically do a Marvel version of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Then you get everybody back on the 616 version of Earth, right? And you bring everyone over, right? Which to me, the key element of that is that's how we get all the characters from the Ultimates on the 616 in the 616 universe, right? And we bring Miles Morales over. I guess this Kamala Khan is already in, not Kamala Khan. I guess this Miss Marvel is already in that universe, so she doesn't have to be ported over. But like Miles still hasn't been dealt with in terms of live action, so that character could come over that way. So I don't know.
I mean, 616 I'm sorry, 616 Earth is like where most of like the Marvel action happens,
yes.
right?
Yeah,
I remember correctly. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so that would make sense then. Bring everyone back to okay. No Scarlett Johansson's in Jurassic Park. What? Oh boy. All right. I'm gonna move on here from the MCU. So Hamp, this is scratching my head here because I don't even know where to begin. So we talked about on last Friday, we talked about the idea of like kind of a mini Xbox, like a PC mini Xbox. We think we looked at the Asus. Is it Nuke?
Yeah. Yes, most people pronounce it. I think the technically correct pronunciation is Nuck, but I'll still call it Nuke.
Yeah, so we looked at I don't like Nuck. I could call it Nuke. I think Nuck sounds dumb. The Asus Nuke. So we talked about like Microsoft entering that space, right? Like, and I think you brought up this point, like they really can't compete with Sony. We know that. That's not a knock against Xbox or some console war state, which is based on their performance in the console market. Nintendo is masters of their own domain right now. They kind of own that handheld, hybrid, whatever space. Would you say like that? I don't want to say low end, but
yeah, I mean, I would call it low end, not meant as an insulting term, but just less expensive and
less expensive,
and games that don't require highly performant hardware.
Yeah, and real quick, I'll welcome to the show first time guest, the Wise Old Gamer.
Hey, thank you for having me on. This was a short notice and everything, and I apologize for not coming in earlier, but I had other obligations that I had to take care of, family obligations, so I sincerely apologize. But excited to be here.
No, you know what? No worries. Hey, Wise, you are on my end. You're coming in a little low.
Mm-hmm.
Logic, I don't know if you can, if you hear him okay.
No, I felt the same way.
Yeah, so
I mean, I can hear him, but I mean, just in comparison to our audio levels,
is it better now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I still don't know the inner and outer workings of this little duo thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, and I'm an Apple guy. Sue me. I know, BRAP, you're a huge PC player and all, but forgive my naivete, if you will. But we're an Apple family here, so unfortunately.
Oh well, you'll fit right in here because Logic is an Apple man himself.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. The things you have to watch with Apple and mics is if you go into your HQ panel into the sound option and then hit sound settings very often. In fact, almost all of the time that you hook up a mic, when you check the input panel,
mm-hmm.
Mac OS will have turned your mic down just kind of arbitrarily.
Really?
So I always have to go in there and check that volume level and sometimes pump it back up.
I did not even know that was a thing. See, you learn something new every day. See, that's what I tell my students. You said under
if you
get sound profiles.
Just under sound. So if you go to the command panel in the upper right hand corner, right where it shows the date, there's that little the little sliding panel icon, which should have like a yellow or green dot by it now. If you hit that, down near the bottom, there's a sound insert, and when you expand that, it should have the thing selected that your audio output is on right now. And then if you go all the way down to the bottom of that, there's sound settings, and you hit that, and it should open to sound settings in the settings control panel, and it should show the mic selected that you're actually on. And then it should at the bottom have input volume, and you should be able to see a sound meter of input level as you're talking into your mic.
Okay, I see that. I see it, but it's through USB and won't let me do any weird things with the USB because I'm using my mic as an XLR mic going to my Duo and Duo doing USB to the Apple. But I'm clicking on the Rodecaster Duo thing on the sound settings, and it's not letting me change the input level. Now the MacBook Pro microphone will let me change its volume, but like, yeah.
If you're on a Rodecaster, the Rodecaster I guess has its own hardware volume level, and so it just may have given that mechanical manual input higher priority, which is why your input control panel may be grayed out or not let you do anything with it now. But yeah, I mean, you sound better now, so I guess if you fix it on the Rodecaster, then it should be okay.
Yeah, no. What I think it did was it selected the built-in microphone from the MacBook that's in there built-in. So I think that's what happened. So yeah, my bad. I have to keep changing that. So that's cool. All right. So sorry about that bit, but yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Wise, your timing's perfect here because I forget I was talking about now. Logic. The hell was I talking about?
Hold on just a second. So in the chat, is he still low? Because it sounds like they're saying you're still low.
Yeah, they're saying he's still low. Yeah,
I'm still low.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, let me see something here.
Turn your mic up.
I did turn up my mic. I turned it up in full blast. I mean, it's bleeding into my ears right now because if I speak any louder, I'm gonna crack my eardrum. Hold on. There's something weird going on.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Yeah. So you haven't turned it up all the way, but then it's like not.
Yeah, I got to turn it up all the way, and I got my full gain going. So it's yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So I mean that's about as loud as I can.
Right there, right
now you sound good.
Okay, good. So is it full gain going? So yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah. Now cool, we can hear you. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. Why? So you're everyone's saying that's better. Oh, everyone, but JC2 2013 saying that's better. So yeah, your timing is great because let me get the super chat here real quick. Drya Chisel, $10 super chat says there's something I can't square with this idea of Steam on an Xbox. Steam's allowance of adult games. This won't affect most players, but will Microsoft sign off on allowing that content? I doubt it. Interesting question. I don't think Microsoft's going to censor any Steam stuff. I could be wrong, but I think if they dabble like we talked about last week in creating this like PC type device like the Asus Nuke or Nuke, I don't know. I don't see them removing that content. I mean, they operate Windows and that content is available via PC via Windows, right? So I don't know. I don't see them doing that. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, it's not a Microsoft. Okay, so you can have Steam, like, I think Valve will allow like publishers to not release games on certain things. I think that we were talking about this last week, and I think it is like the topic was with PlayStation, right? So can, like, if this purposed new Xbox dual thing comes out with the Steam Deck or Steam integrated in therein day one, can PlayStation stop Steam from releasing their games on that Xbox hardware? They can't. But the problem occurs is, again, well, there's no saying that Xbox is going to make the hardware. I mean, if Asus makes the hardware or Lenovo makes the hardware or Razer makes the hardware, then that's a little bit of a different situation, right? You can't tell Steam to block an Asus box, even though it's an Xbox Asus box, because then how is the Steam going to know the difference between an Xbox made by Asus or just an Asus PC? So in the same vein, like, I don't think Microsoft will have a choice but to allow it, because not everyone's going to be playing on an Xbox Microsoft console. Some people might be playing it through, LIX or whatever. So that would be like, I don't think they would be able to do that. So
yeah, what do you think, Logic? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I kind of agree with that vector, right? And I think the biggest part of this discussion thread, I think a lot of influencers are getting very wrapped around the axle in their effort to try and win an argument and be the one who's right on incredibly infinitesimal lower levels of minutia that don't matter. Right? Can you hook BIOS, right, via a system call to pull yes, there's lots of super technical things like that that could be done. But the point is that all of those things, we're starting to discuss things at a level of complexity. And the first thing that somebody should recognize is that if you're an executive in a boardroom making decisions about this stuff, as soon as some engineer starts talking some techno babble about what's required to make a goofy thing happen, I'm going to say, nope, time out. No, we're not doing all that. Right. So kind of just like Wise said, right? The direction, well, let me even go up a higher level than that. A lot of this discussion comes from the premise of thinking about the Xbox still as a console. I had an argument with a person in Reforge's chat today because they were insistent that everything that was necessary was there on the Xbox. And so that basically this would be an Ubermensch console that just added stuff to create the additional functionality. Again, from an architect perspective, that makes no sense to me. Like, why would I take a thing and build a thing up instead when I already have a thing that provides all the functionality that's needed? Right. And if I needed to, I could scale down, which is typically how technology happens. In most cases in consumer electronics, we start high and push low rather than start low and push high. The one big exception to that has been the upstream movement of iOS implementations into macOS. And that has been one of the very rare instances in consumer electronics. What I firmly believe is that this hybrid Xbox is going to be a PC. Right, that takes steps and measures to enable legacy console functionality. And so when we start thinking about it as a PC, just like Wise said, like a lot of those things wouldn't happen. So if it's a PC that I then virtualize, make a container, make a partition, whatever, right? There's multiple technical ways to approach it. Emulation that I use to enable legacy Xbox backwards compatibility. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you just say container?
Yes.
Is that a Kubernetes reference?
Kubernetes is the orchestration layer for Docker containers, but yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that is way over my head, especially with 2 beers in. So sorry. I apologize. Okay.
Wise, so it's not a running joke. I don't think I ever really joked. Maybe I joked about it with you, Logic, but I had worked on not me personally, but I was trying to identify people with container Kubernetes experience. Anyhow, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to derail the conversation. Go ahead, Logic.
Yeah. So my point is no. I mean, in my opinion, so that begets a lot of answers, right? So Dryad Chisel's question Steam allows adult content, including a game that's literally, I think, called Boobs. I saw published this week.
Yes, that is actually a real game, and apparently Mooch is playing that. He's going to give his review tomorrow on Crossfire.
Ironically, the only company that's really banning content, ironically enough, is PlayStation. I think that even Nintendo, because of its permeation in Japanese culture, they even allow NC-17 or whatever their equivalent is in that part of the world, games on their console. So I think, ironically enough, PlayStation is the only person manning the gates, if you will. So yeah, which is funny to me, but yeah.
Yeah. So I just don't think it's so things like that. Like, I don't know. I don't think Xbox would do a thing to block content because Xbox is just going to deploy a PC. And this is another thing, right? In the world of simplicity and like things that don't make sense because they cost money. This notion that we're gonna take a console and build it up, that requires those other vendors, Valve, Epic, GOG, that requires them to do something, right? Collaborative to enable functionality of their Windows-based applications that have access to the entirety of the hardware abstraction layer, the kernel, right? In fact, in most cases, not even those things, right? Because they would use drivers for any of those types of hooks or APIs for any of those types of hooks.
What you can, I would presume you could do this, like you can do this with everything right now. You can parent lock it, right? So like, for example, you can probably have, you can parent lock it so that, for example, certain games of a certain ranking cannot, or a certain rating cannot play, right? I presume that would be a thing, right?
Yes, but I wouldn't expect Microsoft to do that at the operating system level.
No, not on an operating system level. Almost like on a more like a shell level, like on a top level type situation for parents and stuff like that. You know.
Well, the reason I don't think that's likely is because where I was headed with the other comment, right? Mm-hmm. Unless they're being paid, Valve is not going to do something special for Xbox. Epic is not going to do something special. Let's also remember these are two companies which have an extreme philosophy, right, about the tech giants and the $1 trillion club and not bending the knee to their will, right? GOG, which is entirely centered around the notion of having access to non-DRM games and anybody who buys a game being allowed to use that game in whatever way they see fit, right? And allowing them, right? So these are companies which have corporate philosophies that don't align with them doing something special for Xbox and enabling a higher level of control that is anything beyond what they do on PC. So I don't think that there's going to be any special hooks or special APIs or special interfaces or anything that allows them to do anything. I think that's why I think what makes the most sense for Xbox from a cost perspective, because let's remember, if Xbox does pay them to do that, Amy the Hood isn't going to let them just pay them for free. Amy the Hood is going to expect to be paid back, which means you then have to monetize, right, that revenue recognition in return to pay for that additional investment. And what's coming in the next Xbox and everything that we're hearing and everything that's indicated is that they're probably not going to subsidize this box. They're not going to look to sell this box at a loss. So I don't think that they're going to any of those types of measures. And again, from a technical perspective, those measures don't make sense when you already have Windows and those things already function on Windows. And then for the Xbox stuff, which you do entirely control, that you can abstract because nobody else cares, right? That you can run on a VM, right? And enable people to have access to their library. And you can, and you have entire control of that tech stack, right? To make that happen and to troubleshoot it and do all the systems engineering and integration. You're not dependent upon your interfaces with anyone else.
And another thing to take into account is this play by Xbox. Okay, we're not talking about the merits of the play, whether getting Steam on Xbox is a good thing or a bad thing. That is irrespective of the argument. That's not what I'm talking about here. This play for Xbox is to keep their console base, right? Like, if you are already a PC player, then what Xbox is doing right now should have no effect on you because you can play all your games now on your PC. So what Xbox is doing they're doing stuff for idiots like me. Like, I don't like playing on a PC. I'll be I know here you guys are PC guys, but you know what? I work ungodly hours, okay? Right now, like after I get done with this podcast, I'm going to be grading papers until 2 a.m., okay? So that being said, when I turn on my console, I just want to like press a button and go. And that is what Xbox is trying to do for me. What they could do for me. I want them to make a console. A console first and foremost, not a PC, a console that can pull my games from Epic, from Steam, from GOG, whatever, and let me have one user interface to play it. But therein lies the rub. If they make this too convoluted, they're going to have bugs showing up every which way, the left way, and you know how Windows is with bugs. That might dissuade some people from jumping on board because they'll be like, well, wait a minute, this is not what I was expecting. I was expecting a console-like experience. And that is the big thing. Xbox has to make a console-like experience because they already got a PC-like experience. I'm not looking for a PC-like experience. I'm looking for a console-like experience. So the KISS philosophy, keep it simple, stupid, right? Because if they try to make it too complicated, as Game Logic is saying, you're going to probably introduce more ideas or more opportunities for like bugs and stuff like that. So.
Yep, no, totally agree. And therein lies the example for them to follow in Steam OS.
Mm-hmm.
So let me I do want to go to so I know people have been arguing. I think you mentioned this too just a little bit ago. Wise, I know Logic, you talked about it. The argument that Sony would block or be petty, if you will, block games on Steam. I mean, look, I'm not a tech professional. I'll leave that expertise to you, Logic. But at least for me, I look at it as well. Their games aren't coming day and date anyway on PC. So I mean, what does it matter to them, right? You still have to wait, 12 months, 15 months, or whatever it is, to play a game, a Sony exclusive first party game on PC. And they are still very hardware focused. They're going to. I don't see them. I guess my point is I don't see them. And this could change. Who knows in the future? Could change, but I don't see them, at least for now, changing that strategy of the single player stuff. We know the multiplayer stuff, whatever, that we know that's going to go day and date. They've talked about that, and they've explained why that business model makes sense for them. Sean Layden's talked about why it doesn't make sense for them to go day and date on PC. He's talked about that.
But here's the interesting thing, though. Here's the interesting thing. I don't know if you thought about this. Last night, I was looking at all of Sony's major IPs, the IPs that are currently live. We're not talking about like Beyond the Beyond or Dark Cloud or anything like back from yesterday. We're talking about they're currently functioning IPs. Which IPs are still locked down to only the PlayStation? The only ones that I can think of off the top of my head right now that are PlayStation IPs that are only locked to the console are Gran Turismo 7, Astrobot, and Bloodborne. I think everything else that they have, first party wise, has made it on the PC. Well, true enough, as you said, Brad, they are waiting for a 1 year exclusive, but like they are releasing it a year later just for whatever added benefit on top. So they're probably thinking, okay, well, if it eventually does come to even Xbox, it's coming to Xbox a year later. So what difference does it make? It's like one of those things like, you're making the money and everything you're like, you'd only be hamstringing yourself by keeping it off of Xbox's platform a year later. Even if you're allowing it on Steam, that means you're allowing it on 95% of devices, and then you're like keeping it out for like 5% of people and complicating your process in that matter. And I don't know if that's really worth it for Sony to do that. So.
I mean, the other complication that you have is so I'm a Steam user. I'm gonna go and purchase a license that allows me access to a game. And maybe I do that on my mobile phone because there is a Steam app where I can do that on my mobile phone. At that point of purchase, Valve has zero idea where I'm going to play that game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have 5 different gaming PCs. Valve allows me to install that game on all 5 of those gaming PCs. It allows me to play that game on any of those 5 gaming PCs. I can put it on my 2 Steam Decks. I can put it on a laptop. I can put it wherever I want to. Like the days and age of where we used to lock PCs to like only being allowed to have one install on a specific PC, or if the game would allow you to install it on multiple PCs, not allow you to play it on one more than one PC, right? Unless you like clicked an option that said, "Hey, move the license," to like those days are gone. Like back in 2003 or whenever it was that Steam came along, the PC gaming industry stopped doing that. Again, I think what's core to the tenet of this argument is like, how are you thinking about it? Are you thinking about the Xbox as a console or the Xbox as a PC? I'm thinking about that this new Xbox is going to be a PC. Therefore, it's not going to look any different from any other PC, right? In terms of how it identifies.
Do you really think they're going to go that route? I think that they might still make it more console. I know what you're trying to say is going to be more. It's going to be more PC than it's ever been. But I still think that, like, if they were just catering to the PC crowd, they already got that. They don't need to do anything more. They can literally dissolve Xbox and PC would be fine. But they're keeping Xbox. They're trying to keep the console base there. So I think that they're going to do a lot to, sort of like, as I say, cater to the console players, like people like us, People
absolutely. Absolutely. They're going to throw a UI on top. You're not going to know that it's Windows.
Right.
It's going to have an Xbox front end on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And unless you go into some type of super user mode,
mm-hmm.
which I suspect is how they're going to go about it, just like you do on Steam, right? On a Steam Deck, I have the ability to exit out of big screen mode, right, and go to the desktop.
Mm-hmm.
And I firmly believe that's the same way this thing is going to be. I mean, this whole thing about Xbox integration with blah 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 blah, they're just talking about Xbox big picture mode. That's what it's going to be on the PC, and I think that's what's going to be on this box. It just may be a little more harder locked than it would be if you enable that on PC. I think on PC you're just going to be able to like pop in and out of that mode. On a Steam Deck, it's actually akin to signing out of Windows, which drops all your Windows services and restarts all your drivers and then signing back in. And so it's not a seamless process. It's not like just dropping on PC. If I go into Steam big picture mode and I toggle out of it, I still continue my currently running Windows session, right? There's no disruption right at the operating system level. My belief is on this hybrid Xbox, it is going to be like it is on a Steam Deck. I think they're going to be it's going to be very disruptive, right? When you pop out of Xbox big picture mode. But when you're in Xbox big picture mode, which will be the default mode that you go into, it is going to operate like a console. But it's going to be Windows running underneath it.
So the question lies, okay, say for example, these games do come a year later to this Xbox hybrid box, whatever, right? Then the only compelling reason to buy PlayStation would be to get their exclusives a year early, their first party exclusives a year early. How compelling of an argument is that?
I mean, I think it's still very compelling. I mean, it's just to be like super hyper specific, right? Mm-hmm. It's not 12 months right now. The earliest move that we've seen is 15 months, right, with Spider-Man 2. Mm-hmm. So I personally think it's going to be very compelling because I absolutely believe that game is going to run best on PlayStation, at least initially. I think it will after they spend 30 days deploying the damage control teams and fixing it, right? Because 50% of the time they go to PC, it's not performant. Mm-hmm. But let's say, after they get it back, I don't believe that this hybrid Xbox with the caliber of hardware that I expect it's going to have, it's not going to provide a one-to-one equivalent for what you experience on PC. When you get a PlayStation game on PC, if you have, I would say above the 50% mark, right, of hardware that's current gen on PC, you're getting a 85, 90, 100 teens frames per second level of performance, right? You're able to turn on ray tracing, you're able to have better image quality, you're able to do all the bells and whistles, right, that PC gamers expect. I do not believe you're going to have that same experience on this hybrid Xbox because I don't believe it's going to deploy with hardware that is performant at that level.
Well, they can't subsidize it, right? Like, there's no point to subsidizing it right now. So whatever the cost of that thing, the BOM is, it's pretty much going to be BOM plus whatever they want to tack on top, right? So you would look at about $800, $900 starting price, maybe, I would say. If the PlayStation's coming in at $700, I would probably presume their low end or their starting price would be $700, $800 as well.
I mean, I'm expecting at the tops, like, I mean, at the best, the next baseline PlayStation to maybe be $700, and I feel like that's at an outside chance. But I mean, this hybrid Xbox, yes, it will not be subsidized, but it also can't butt up against PC prices, right? I mean, I heard, I guess maybe it was Xbox Era or whatever. I think one of the guys was theorizing that like a high-end box would be like $1,300. Like at that point, I'm just building a PC, right? Or I'm just buying a pre-build. that's going to be more performant than the hardware options that I'm going to have. And I don't think that the hardware options available on this box are going to be an RTX 4070. Right. I mean, this is just me personally. I think it's going to be some variant of an AMD APU, which gives you more power than an integrated Intel GPU, but it's also not like high end.
But on the flip side of the coin, you can offer like an uber powerful whatever you want to call it, charge whatever 1500 whatever, and put all the bells and whistles in it and just put it out there and see what it takes. I mean, you're not subsidizing any of it, right? And it's something to think about. Yeah,
you're not subsidizing it, but you still have to buy it, right? Like you still have to source. Right. You still have to source those parts and source the manufacturing. And if the ROI and the sales targets aren't feasible, I don't believe. Again, I don't believe that the CFO and the new COO have the stomach for that type of investment.
Well, I think Xbox is going to go towards a division of becoming more akin to their Surface division, where you can play Microsoft games on Xbox, but you don't necessarily need an Xbox to play Microsoft games. So that being said, like I think that Surface, they do mostly offer their mid-range, low end, but they do have a couple of the high end ones. So I think they might, just depending on how this takes, because obviously this is uncharted territory here. If this takes, they might be able to offer something like Uber, Pro Max version or something.
They could. I mean, it's kind of like you were saying before, though. I expect that that's territory that they'll leave to their partners and let them take that risk. The other thing I would say about Surface, and I owned a Surface. I was a tablet PC user back in the late '90s, and always loved the notion of the platform. I was glad, post iPad, after kind of ceding that territory, that Microsoft finally got back to it. But I mean, the Surface Play, which I have likened to this strategy, that it's a boutique strategy. It's looking for a slice of the market, but there are also some big business differences between Surface. First of all, like the energy behind Surface was largely a cult of personality driven by Panos Panay. Surface was also largely done out of a cultural, I'm not sure what I want to call it, a cultural obsession with the mind share that Apple had grabbed out of the PC industry.
Yeah, the Surface was a thing when they first started doing Windows stores, like Apple stores and all of that other stuff. They're going towards that Apple.
Right. Yeah. So they were trying to get back at Apple and kind of stick it to them. And they firmly had believed and were convincing themselves that they could do something equivalent. They were also trying to strongly encourage partner vendors to build 2-in-1s because the appetite to take that risk wasn't there. So they were trying to build a reference model, right, to push that. And the other thing is, part of the success of Surface, which took them several iterations to get to the point where it was anywhere near, and we still don't know, really what Surface profitability was, and we certainly don't know sales numbers. But I think a big difference in the competitive market is Surface became successful at a time when, BRAP, I'm probably going to get you demonetized, when Apple was behaving like they didn't give a shit about the MacBook Pro. Right. This was during the time where they had pulled all of the ports out of the MacBook Pro as they were trying to shift to USB-C, but then all their other devices were still running on Lightning, and where they were deploying that horrific butterfly keyboard.
Oh, do not
yeah. It took them 3 iterations, as it always does with Microsoft, right? It always takes them multiple iterations, right, to get a thing.
Keyboard never got it right. What are you talking about? The only iteration that made it right was when they stripped the whole damn thing and put a regular keyboard in the freaking.
No. Yeah. Yes. Apple's problem was they kept trying to do that butterfly keyboard, and they didn't get it fixed until they stopped using it. What I'm saying is, Microsoft, it took them a few iterations to get the Surface right, which is always the approach with Microsoft, right? It always takes them 2-3 iterations to get a thing right to the point where it's really a viable product. But it also was helped, right, in becoming successful by that loosening of mindshare and that weakening of the market by the competitor. So I just don't know if all those business conditions are in place right now. I think it would be great. I love, BRAP and I talk about, we love the Xbox design shop, right, where you can go in and build your own controller. That would be awesome.
It's the bane of my wife's existence. That design shop. My wife absolutely hates that design shop.
Yeah, I like the idea, like them doing that for a console.
Oh,
And
that
I've
would be
joked
awesome.
around like incorporating RGBs. I'm not even joking. Like if they did something like that at an $800 $900 price point, because and I said this a lot too. One of the I like the Steam. Like remember the Steam machines when those came out,
Yeah,
and then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I
Yep.
mean those were kind of like, and I wasn't back into PC gaming at the time. I had left for quite some time. But that was kind of like my, ooh, wait a minute, like I'm not ready to make that leap back into PC. This could be a nice go between.
But you see, you don't have to, you have to understand something, okay? You have to understand from a business standpoint the utter stupidity of console players like myself, okay? We want things fucking simple. Sorry, simple, okay? We don't want 40 different machines. Just give us two. Tell us this is the low end if you are working a 9 to 5 at McDonald's, and this is the high end if you are a manager of that McDonald's. That's what we want to know. This is the one we want. That's it. That's all we want. We want to know which console to buy. We don't want 15 different options. The problem is PC gamers love options. Console gamers, not as much. We don't care for as much. As long as it looks good, it runs well, and we can get in and get out.
Ease of
That's all
use.
we're looking for.
So Wise, to your point, and this is something that I know you and I talked about this last night. Logic was that this idea of, and I think you may have brought this up too earlier in the conversation. Wise, that what's the potential value prop for PlayStation now? And I forget what podcast it was, Logic, that was questioning that. Like, I don't know if they exactly said why would you buy a PlayStation, but I've seen I've saw a little bit of that on Twitter today, Logic, when I was on for like a couple minutes. I saw some people actually discussing that very same thing. Like, well, if there's a Xbox-ish or Xbox-like PC hybrid console, whatever you want to call it, and it's got Steam and the PlayStation games are going to be on Steam, then you don't need a PlayStation. That's not entirely true. You're going to have people, for some of the reasons you mentioned, Wise. This is what we talk about on this show, like a lot, about how diverse the consumer base is in video games, and not just in gaming. This is across the board, and it drives me nuts. I feel like we only do this with gaming. We tend to have these binary conversations around the consumer space in gaming, that it's like, oh well, everyone sees value with the argument I always hear is, well, you got this hybrid Xbox PC thing. It's going to have Game Pass. It's going to have PlayStation games. It's going to have Steam. Why would you need a PlayStation then? It's going to have all these things, backward compatible, all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have all these things. There'd be so much value built into that. Like, it's a no-brainer. And so no, it's not that it's a no-brainer. It's that not everybody values those things. Some people, like to your point, Wise, want simplicity, ease of access. Some people want to be in those ecosystems. They want to be in the PlayStation ecosystem. They want to buy the DualSense, the earbuds, the headsets, the PlayStation 5 Pro, just like people are in the Apple ecosystem. They value those different things that Apple makes.
You ever heard of a saying, nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd?
Yeah,
nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. And that's all it really is. It's like people just want to be a part of the next big thing. It's FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. That's all it really is, So why do we buy the next greatest Apple thing? Because it's like, if you're an Apple sheep like I am, it's the next greatest Apple thing. You got to buy it, right? So
yeah, but that's because people bought into the. I think that's because people bought into the ecosystem, the idea of being part of that ecosystem, and I think there's value in that. People value those things. Logic, you talk a lot about Apple, like the different things that Apple has. I'm an Android, Samsung,
peasant.
Owner. Well, we're not going to say that. That's slander.
I'll give you a case in point, right? My headphones, I had an AirPods Max. It went kaput on me. I had the Lightning one, so the battery finally stopped holding a charge. So I had to buy a new one. So like I was looking at the PX8 from Bowers and Wilkinson, and I was looking at the Sony XM5s.
B&W, okay.
Yeah, B&W PX8. They say it was real, and it looks sweet. But then guess what I settled on?
The Apple.
The AirPods Max with USB-C.
Yeah, I mean, I think the overall point is that the thing that frustrates me is that people tend to have these very one-sided. There's a lack of, not one-sided. There's a lack of nuance in these conversations that I'm hearing on different shows about how, and I like you always say this logic, like how the market is stratified as relates to the gaming market. Consumers value things differently, and we don't have and I've said this a million times in the show, we don't have these conversations about other consumer products, right? There are people who value Nike Air Jordans, will spend $200-$300, right? And then you have people on the other end of the spectrum that are like, fuck that, I'm not spending $100 on a pair of shoes, right? This is literally every I I'm gonna get on my soapbox here with tires. Logic, like I said this to you yesterday, I went through this with shopping for tires for my truck. I'm gonna go out and buy a set of tires that they're probably about almost $2,000. But even like in my conversations with people, some people are like, oh no, like why would you spend $2,000? Oh no, those tires, blah blah. Again, people value things differently. Some people value. I'm going to use tires as an example here. Some people want, if you own a truck, if you're a truck owner, you this might resonate with you, but some people value aggressive looking tires, and some people want mud tires. And you'll have people say, oh, why would you drive a mud tire? Those things are terrible on the road. But some people value the look of that tire as opposed to the performance on dry asphalt.
Truck, I got a Corvette, and same story though. You got to have the right tires, otherwise there's no point.
But you see what I'm saying? But wise, I mean, you've probably had those conversations, right?
Yeah.
So my point is that people value things differently, right? We all value things differently. And so I don't think it's just slam dunk that I've heard some people, and I think Logic, you use particular podcasts as example. I don't think it's a slam dunk of, well, now the PlayStation all of a sudden becomes obsolete, because there are people that want to be in that ecosystem, don't want to wait a year or 2 or 15 months to play games, want access to that, to those games immediately. And then also just value the ecosystem, and also value being in the ecosystem with their friends. And also, Phil Spencer talked about this, the one generation we lost was the critical
generation.
Yeah. I mean, people are tied to their digital library, their ecosystems now. I don't necessarily think it's easy to pry those people away once they're invested in that garden. I don't think that's an easy thing to do. And I say that because if there was any generation I thought that Microsoft would have been very competitive in, it was this generation, with the premise of value, the value proposition of Game Pass, backwards compatibility, which they did a better job in Sony than that, back with BC. Two different pricing SKUs with the low cost of entry with the Series S, and then if you wanted the machine that eats whatever monsters for breakfast, you had the Series X. I thought they were poised to be more competitive this generation with those things, and then you see what's happened. The market
said monster, Blueberry, Count Chocula, or Frankenberry.
I don't know. Frankenberry's my go-to as a kid, but
which monster do you eat?
but no, I'm saying, like, it just, I just say, just point, look at the market, look at how the market's reacted. I feel like these conversations keep happening because people are trying to. Honestly,
you want to hear the height of absurdity. You want to hear the height of absurdity. Here you go. This upcoming gen, this is what I fully envisioned buying. I'm going to buy the next Xbox, whatever they call it, the next Xbox handheld, the PlayStation handheld, the new Switch 2. And if you combine all of those things together, I'll easily pay maybe upwards of $2,000, maybe more. Now, obviously, I can make a pretty damn good PC that does all of the same things as all of those separate devices that I'm buying. Plus, I'm probably going to buy the new version of the Ally X just for, shits and giggles as well. And that being said, the reason I'm doing all of that is because my logic has been the same. I'm still that 10-year-old boy going to Toys R Us and pulling a golden ticket out of the little pouch to buy the video games. And I've never really aged beyond that. My wife will tell you that I matured up to the age of 10, then just for some reason stopped for some reason. But, anyway. So my philosophy is, okay, if it's a Nintendo game, it's going to be best played on a Nintendo console. It's a PlayStation game, it's best played on a PlayStation console. It's an Xbox game, it's a game best played on an Xbox console. And then if it's a multi-plat, then I'm going to listen to Digital Foundry and listen to which one they tell me to buy. So there you go. But yeah. So that is my thing. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Here's one of my key inflection points that I'm expecting.
Mhm.
What is an Xbox game when the next hybrid Xbox is a PC?
It's like a Microsoft game. So, it's like Xbox to me will always be Microsoft because like I do imagine a few generations from now, there might not even be a thing. But for me, Xbox and Microsoft will always be hand in hand. So
Sure.
that logic in my brain, I know it's a flawed logic as well, but it's still something that resonates in my brain that, hey, this is, I don't know, this is, I don't know what they want to call it, Everwilds or whatever they want to call it. Oh, it's going to run best on my Xbox because it's made by a Microsoft developer or something like that. That's the logic. So,
Right. Yes. And so that's in Everwild or whatever will be one of the games right on the back end, right, of this generation.
mhm.
For next generation, I don't think that game will be at all different than the Xbox version of the game that gets published to Steam. Right at a primitive code level.
Oh, it most definitely won't, but it's just a mental thing.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is going back to BRAP's discussion of value propositions.
It's kind of like okay, you ever go to the grocery store and you see like for example, those frozen foods from the restaurants, from the different restaurants. Like you can go to Fridays and get like Fridays frozen French fries, or
those are terrible. Those are terrible guys.
Huh? Yeah, or you can get the Panera soup, right?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
but it's still going to the restaurant and eating it. Still, to me, tastes better, even though it's the same frozen shit, probably. So,
yeah. But what I'm saying is going back to BRAP's question about value prop, right? And your comment right earlier about wanting that console like experience. Mm-hmm. I think on this next hybrid Xbox, it will be as close to that as it can possibly be. But I think Phil Spencer's answer to I want a console like experience, and is that's not what's going to be on the hybrid Xbox. It's going to be very close, but there are going to be some differences. And if you want to go buy a different set of hardware, you can, because our games will be there too. One of the key, I think, competitive assessments that keeps not being made in some of these discussions that I'm seeing on Twitter is this whole thing about why on earth would you buy a PlayStation? I would buy a PlayStation because a PlayStation will allow me to play PlayStation games and Xbox games. And they will be true equivalents because those games will be coming to PlayStation probably day and date, but at worst, probably within 3 months. And that's much better value prop than trying to make Xbox. An argument. Yeah, that, hey, if I can play PlayStation games on a hybrid Xbox, yes, but you're playing PC ports that show up 15 to 18 months later, where we have no evidence today of how well optimized those things will be. I think that's a big ask of a value prop to be asking somebody to pay what I think is going to be $762, $862 with tax for whatever the next hybrid Xbox is.
That's a great point, Logic. One that I didn't think about. Like, if you flip the narrative that's out there, right, and do what you just did with, they're not acknowledging that the Xbox games will probably be day and date also on PlayStation, right?
And right now the evidence that we have is they show up on PlayStation better optimized and more performant.
Oh, man, don't say that.
But you're paying. See that therein lies the dilemma, right? So I got a PS5 Pro, and I would love to play Forza Horizon on the PS5 Pro because it is better enhanced apparently for that console. But I'm not going to pay $70 for a game that I got on Game Pass. I mean, you could say, "Oh well, I don't want to pay." I'm not going to pay a game that I'm already paying Game Pass to get.
Sure, period. That applies to 8% of the market right now.
Yeah, I mean that might be the case, but I mean, like I just can't bring myself to it, and that's the thing. And like same thing with Indiana Jones. I mean, I did not play it yet. I started it on my Xbox, but like, and everyone who's been playing has been playing it on the PS5 Pro. Say, oh my god, it's phenomenal. But I'm like, I am not playing that game on the. I'm just not. I'm just not.
And I don't disagree with you that that's a value prop to people, but what I say is that's apparently a value prop that has swayed 8% of the market. And the rest of the market either doesn't play those games because they're part of the 40% of the market that plays black hole games, right, over and over and over again, or they're some other part of the market that pays the money for those games or waits and buys them on sale or whatever. There's something outside of that 35 million people who have subscribed to Game Pass. And right now, today, we don't even know that's probably a majority Game Pass Ultimate, but we don't know that for sure. But this whole notion that, you're well, I don't know. I mean, you won't have to have Game Pass necessarily for some of those things, but I mean, for first party stuff, if you want day and date, you got to buy in at the Game Pass Ultimate tier,
or buy the game outright. So one of the two.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's yeah. It's interesting logic. As I think about like this, if again this hasn't been confirmed. I know a lot of people are talking about this hybrid type console. But I was just thinking about the customization piece that either you or Wise brought up, and the how you can customize the Xbox controller. Like I would, as I was thinking about as you guys were talking, I would absolutely love that. Like I think that would be cool. Like I would personally be like, design your own. That's kind of like, it's funny. Like when I went to you about the PC that I have now, right? And I started like configuring it, that to me was actually really, there was something exciting about that, that customization. I'd like to see that in kind of this in a hybrid console PC type thing.
Yeah, I don't think for a minute that's going to happen. I brought that up as a complete fantasy because the cost prohibition on that, right? Because now at that point, Microsoft isn't just sourcing those parts; they are providing bespoke, right, assembly on demand, and I don't think is going to happen.
Hey, Brad, I gotta run. My son has exams tomorrow, so I got to get him ready because he just got out of the shower. So, but thank you for having me on. But I really appreciate it. Next time, I definitely want to come in and spend the full time here. But unfortunately, I have to run right now.
So. No worries, man. I completely understand, Wise. I appreciate you jumping on, man.
Thanks, appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
All right, talk to you soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Shout out to Wise for joining us. Actually, it's funny he left. Logic. I do have a hard stop here in like a minute, so I have to get up early. But go ahead, finish your thought. You were saying about the
Yeah, no, I mean, I would love it if that would happen. I don't think it's going to. I mean, I think what we're going to get is we're going to get two SKUs. I don't think there's going to be anything like the separation that we saw between the Series X and the Series S. I think it will be a very minor delta in SKU, again, aligned along, AMD's COTS parts. And so, or like a lot of what we're seeing kind of in the handheld space where, there'll be one version of the CPU and then there'll be an extreme version of the CPU. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I think these things are going to be, $750, $850 separated by $100. I don't think there's going to be a huge, ginormous difference. Like, I don't think they're going to come in two different chassis. Because again, I think, offering a higher end, or a more expensive, product, they're not going to have like big wide gulfs of separation between the two. But they are going to allow people to come in at a slightly lower price point, probably largely driven by availability. But I don't think it's going to be much customization available beyond that, at least not at launch.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. It's just something it'd be on BRAP's wish list of nice things to have.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, but Logic, as I mentioned, I do have a hard stop here. And I want to first thank everyone in the live chat for coming out and hanging out with us this evening. Really appreciate it. And big shout out again to our guest, the Wise Old Gamer. Thank you, Wise, for jumping on. And as always, Logic, always great chatting all things video games with you as well. And I don't know if you want to be found, but if you do, let me know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can catch me on the Enough to Keep Going weekly games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Yep, definitely check them out. Great shows, great content, although great conversation over there as always, folks. Yeah, Logic. I don't know, man. You notice that the tires aren't showing up anymore as much as they used to. That's because I finally made a buying decision on tires. So those probably
Very cool.
yeah. I tell you, man, I've gone down this rabbit hole, man. You know, and it's interesting in some ways. You see kind of like tire wars. It's crazy. It's crazy, but anyhow. Well, look, we'll be back next Friday at our regular scheduled time at 8:30. Again, no BRAP this Friday because I'm out of town. And everyone enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll catch you next week. Thank you again for watching.